Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, work-life balance is tough enough, but what happens when you're in a pandemic and you're working from home? It's really hard to separate the two. To talk about that right now, a work-life balance expert, Dr. Travis Parry. He's with the Make Time Institute. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell me what the Make Time Institute is.
Sure. Yeah, the Make Time Institute exists to help people to have better work-life balance. We've been doing this for several years. We do coaching for business owners. I call them couplepreneurs because usually they're married and they have a spouse who's either directly or indirectly related to the business, and it's crucial to their success. And I found there's a lot of workaholics, and we kind of laugh about it, and we even wear it with a badge of honor, so to speak, in our society of kind of being workaholics. And we find that this desire to work sometimes takes over other areas of our life. And if we become a workaholic, it really takes our spouse, our family to pull us back.
I know. Well, when you do have, work is now not a trip down the tollway, but a trip from your bedroom to your office. How do you separate, work from play?
Such a good question. I've been doing this for 12 years, meaning working from home in some form or fashion. And I think one of the biggest things that people who are at least just getting to this now is to think about your workspace as though you really aren't here. Have 4 walls. I mean, this isn't a huge office. I've got another office in town that right now I'm not, going to, but this is it. And so have boundaries. Boundaries are huge. Most think that, okay, I'm just going to show up in my pajamas and, sit on the laptop. And yeah, you can be flexible out in the kitchen or whatnot. But now we have children who are at home in some homes, and you've got to create those boundaries. So what I do is a physical boundary and then some emotional and psychological boundaries. I tell my kids, especially my 6-year-old and 4-year-old, who they barely know what's going on right now. I let them know when I'm dressed up, when dad has work shirt on, I'm at work. And so I'll come out for lunch and I'll have lunch with them, or I'll have breaks. And my 6-year-old will look up and go, Daddy has his work shirt on. You're at work. Okay, I won't buck you. And you get in the habit of training those kids. Spouses, same thing. Set up boundaries, set up rules so that you're not assuming things and there's not chaos at home.
Absolutely. I know you're doing a lot of public speaking. At least when they allowed us all to gather, you were doing a lot of public speaking. I'm sure a lot of bosses are dealing with the work-life balance issues that millennials are faced with, because as you know, it's kind of like spaghetti. It's all kind of intertwined. It's not necessarily a clock punching generation 9 to 5. They think nothing of working until midnight. Do you find that millennials and Gen Zs have an extra problem with work-life balance?
I think this is kind of, work-life balance is a term I've been interviewing, and it's the topic of my book that I'm coming out with here in the next 90 days. I should have an official announcement on that. It's interesting because I've been doing some interviews. I've been interviewing those in X, Y, Z generation, millennials, and also those who are right now the boomer generation, getting ready to retire. And it's been interesting getting their perspective on what balance is. Obviously, it's changing, it's fluctuating, and everybody has a different idea of it. But I will tell you this, what most people are telling me as I've been doing these interviews is that they want a sense of when they're done with work to being done. And when they're with their family, to be present with their family, because they found there's too much crossover, whether they're working from home, whether it's on their phone. And I've had some say, hey, I've had an addiction to my phone for years and I curbed it, but now with COVID-19, I'm back on my phone all the time. So can we really escape this? I don't think so. And I don't think it's pinned to one generation specifically, because it's more of a technology thing. We all have access to it now. Now, I have interviewed others who in that boomer generation, they're saying it's easier for them because they grew up on a farm, or they had this sense of I'm always working. And so it's kind of always been there. And I had one gentleman who said, it's actually my wife. She gives me balance. She is my balance. And I think that really does make sense, no matter, how old you are, what generation you're from, that we, unfortunately, in our society now, it's so easy just continually working 24 hours a day, work ourselves to death. We really do need our family to help us and keep those boundaries.
Let's give some advice to the bosses out there, because I'm a boss, and on a weekend, if I see an issue, I'll send an email to an employee. I'm not looking for them to act on it, but I just want to make sure I don't forget. And so, should bosses email employees after hours and on weekends?
Store hours. Everybody has store hours. It blows my mind that just because we can work virtually, why do we assume that we need to? If we really understand that our employees, as you mentioned, Jeff, you have several employees, if those employees are working themselves and they don't have a break during the weekend, they're not coming back Monday ready to work. It is scientifically proven. There's tons of articles out there. I've got some on my website talking about take a vacation, take a break. Because if you don't have other things to live for outside of work, you're not going to be at the top, your peak performance. There are some, exceptional voices out there saying that that's not true and you should work 90-hour weeks. Baloney. That's not scientific. That's someone's personal opinion. So if you really do care about your employees, you would set up store hours. Don't work after these hours. Now, I get it. Some people are working, they're not working on the clock. So if they are salaried employees, encourage them to have good work-life balance. Encourage them to have their own hours that they set that's conducive with their family, and so that they aren't creating stress from work back to home. And then that stress at home doesn't come back to plague you at work. I've found about 50 to 20% of all employees have wasted or stressed out time where they're just not productive. And that's a pretty big cost. If you look at your bottom line, what is that for your business as a business owner? And to really say, okay, it's worth it for me to have these conversations with my employees, with my managers, to set up these boundaries so that we can recover those costs on a Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday situation.
Great advice. You've been an awesome guest. The website is travisparry.com. We'll have to have you back. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jeff.
And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.